No Limit Reacts. We're back, man. Now, I know it's been a minute, especially on this channel, in particularly, but we back, man. We're gonna get back on the steady grind. Today we got what happened to somebody who didn't sleep for 11 days, man. So yeah, this should be interesting. And if you don't mind, let me know in the comment section, man. How what's the longest you've been without sleep? I'll be honest, mine's kind of crazy. I believe it was like a week. Some I don't know exactly, how many days. Several days, man. Let's just put it that way. Yeah. I was 15, on a party streak. It's a long story, but yeah. Yeah. Other than that though, no more than I'd say, 40 hours other than that one time, Then that literally, I think the goal was to see how long I could go, just quite literally when I did that. And it was not worth it. That's why I think I never did again. So yeah, just the physical. I mean, we sleep for a very good reason, rest, recharge our bodies. So yeah, I don't recommend this to anybody, don't attempt it, but just let me know what's your longest, man. Other than that though, when we're going to jump into the video, let's get to it.
How long can you go without sleep? My personal best is a mere 40 hours. And
yeah, see, a mere 40 hours. See, nowadays, I definitely couldn't do that, but I like my sleep, man.
there's a 4-hour chunk that I absolutely do not remember except for the taste of gin and tonics. Healthcare workers will often work full 24-hour shifts. Firefighters sometimes go 3 days without getting shut-eye. And film production workers lead the world in cumulative lack of sleep.
It's even the worst, man, when you got to, like I said, firefighters, like, pretty active too, man. When you got to work and you're going to be busy, to having to do that for 3 days and still, at any beaking moment, you could just be called out. So
Still, most of us try not to go more than a day without getting at least a nap in.
yeah.
Well, this is Randy Gardner, a teen who broke the world record when he stayed awake without any sleep for 11 days. December 1960.
He broke the world record. And see, when I did that, what I did, I don't think I could have gone any longer, bro. I mean, there's a lot of time in there, like, I don't even remember because I was just so out of it. But like the last 2 days of that, just cognitively, man, you're not all the way there. Yeah, it's I'm gonna light my candle, man. You like the warm and leather amber? Lovely. Wish y'all could smell it. Yeah, and a grown man with the candle. So what, man? Yeah, you like that? Let's go. Lovely. Anyway, let's get to it, man. Lovely jubbly.
63, San Diego high schoolers Randy Gardner and Bruce McAllister need a project for the upcoming science fair. While other kids might be content with baking soda volcanoes.
Now, I'm gonna, I don't want to put any accusations on this teen, you know what I mean, from 1963. But how does one actively not sleep for several days, 11 days for that matter, without a little help, without maybe a stimulant in there. So, no, you still got all the respect, man. You still hold the record, so it doesn't matter. But I just don't see how it's possible, man. Honestly, without some type of drug, like 11 days, bro. I think, just inherently, you're gonna go unconscious at one point. Like, you will literally just fall asleep standing. Like, I've seen people do it. So I'm just putting that out there. But in a year, I'm not, maybe he didn't. Maybe he didn't. But.
Or solar system dioramas, Randy has his sights set on something bigger. He comes from a military family, constantly moving, and is used to distinguishing himself by taking first prize at the science fair, no matter where he lives. San Diego's the biggest city they've landed in, though, and if he's going to make his mark, he's going to have to be bigger than ever before. So he and Bruce decide to make history by breaking the world record for sleep deprivation. At this time, the record
That's a bad one to pick, my boy. There's a lot of easy ones out there. You pick the one where you're quite literally torturing yourself, man. Come on. But hey, fair play, man. More power to you. You pulled it off. But still, I don't care about no world record. Like, it's not enough to put myself through that, man. Ugh, God, I can't even imagine, bro. What I want to know, like one thing I want to know is when he finally did, you know what I'm saying? He's like, I did this. How long after that did he sleep? That first sleep from that, after that 11 days? Oh, I bet you that was some of the best sleep, bro. And you just been, you grinding, you're running around, and then you just, like a light switch, you just knock out, bro, cold.
Held by Tom Rounds, a disc jockey for KPOI Radio in Honolulu. Fresh from New York, Rounds had wanted to drum up publicity for the station and for himself as the new guy. Setting himself up in a department store window, he stayed up for a record 260 hours, just 4 hours shy of a full 11 days. The
260 hours. Are you kidding me? 260 hours? Are you kidding me?
Publicity worked. Rounds made the news around the world. It caught the attention of Bruce and Randy, who loved a challenge. But it is for a science fair, so they had to come up with a...
Well, damn, for that matter, see, he did it for clout, man. Not this guy. I'm talking about the guy before, but bro, even in that time, in that era, there was still clout, man. Clout goblins, just gobbling up that clout. They'd do anything for clout, man. He got in the paper, man. He got his name out. He was talked about. I mean, it was probably, maybe it was worth it, man. Maybe it was worth it. That's funny, though. Think about it. Even 1963, bro.
A scientific pretext. Their first idea,
they do anything for clout. They do anything for clout.
Which paranormal ability? How will they measure it? With no real approach to that, they decided to take on a more straightforward experiment, the effect of sleeplessness on cognitive ability.
Yeah.
Measured in various ways. Memory tests, math problems, and on the basketball court.
Smart.
One of them.
That's smart, man. That's smart. You're already going to be doing that. Why not, do these side studies while you're in the process to find out things like how cognitive you are without so and such and such, this many hours of sleep. But I know the memory thing your memory starts going, bro. I mean, you get to the point where you can't remember what you did a couple minutes earlier,
Will be the test subject and the other the observer. They flip a coin and Randy gets to be the guinea pig. He's not worried though. He's confident that he can stay up a full 11 days, besting Tom Rounds by 4 hours. Then catch up on sleep after.
That's a long time, bro. 11, bro.
No ill effects. The experiment begins in the early morning on December 29th, 1963.
Hey.
They keep a chart on the wall on which Bruce can make notations. Randy stays active, playing basketball. Regular meal taking is maintained, and otherwise, there's nothing added to the diet.
When you get like that, bro, and you're that, sleep deprived, it gets to the point where like you eat a full meal, and you're just like, it just puts you to sleep, bro. It's like taking a sleeping pill. It just. And the longer and longer you get, the more and more tired you get with each meal. But even when you get like another second wind, you eat and it just takes you right back down. And then you're like fighting to keep your eyes open. So it is props, man. Props to the dude for doing it, because that is not an easy task.
It's no stimulants, not even coffee, maybe the occasional Coke.
No stimulants, not even coffee, bro. What? I mean, come on, man. Come on, man. No, not one. I'm not talking about a liquid one either, because you, my boy, are bro.
Randy relies on stamina and will alone.
Hey, you know what's better than a $5,000 PC?
Hey, Lena's
A $5,000
Texas.
PC that costs $0. It's time.
There is one problem. It's just the two of them, so Bruce has to stay up with Randy. The first sign of trouble comes on day 3. Bruce falls asleep while taking notes. When he wakes up, he's still in the middle of writing on the wall. They need help. He recruits another classmate, Joe Marciano Jr. Randy's parents are also getting concerned. They call in an expert, Lieutenant Commander John J. Ross of the U.S. Navy Medical Neuropsychiatric Research Unit. At first, things are progressing as expected. Randy appears to be mostly unaffected, though he gets increasingly irritable.
I mean, for something like that, though, do you not have to have proof? You know what I mean? Because, like, unless that whole entire 11 days is recorded, I mean, it's just hearsay, isn't it, really? Because look at the guy had to stay awake just to watch him, to see that he was awake and keep him awake. And then he falls asleep. I'm telling you, man, it'll get to a point where, like, it'll be someone just holding you up and you're just falling asleep anyway, regardless. They're holding both your eyes open, you still sleep, bro. It don't matter. It gets to a point where your body will just shut down.
He also starts to get a little spacey in conversation. Still, his basketball abilities remain unaffected, and he can still go out for walks with little incident. The new year comes and the boys' experiment gets a write-up in the newspaper. That article gets the attention of William C. Dement, a sleep researcher based out of Stanford University. Dement is a pioneer in sleep medicine, along with classmates Eugene Aserinsky and Michel Jouvet, and under the mentorship of Nathaniel Kleitman, Dement helped to identify and define REM sleep in the 1950s. Like Randy, Dement is skeptical of the recommended 8 hours of sleep. His own observations tell him that it differs from person to person. In 1963, just before the boys begin their science fair project, Dement completes his own study on the sleeping habits of Bayard Quincy Morgan, an 80-year-old professor of German at Stanford. Morgan claims he has gone to bed at 10 p.m. and woken up at 2 a.m. bright-eyed and bushy-tailed every day since he was 23 years old. Weeks of observation with the Stanford sleep researchers proved that yes, Morgan was able to function completely normally, including teaching, writing, and socializing at age 80 on slightly less than 4 hours of sleep. If the man can go that long and be productive on so little sleep, is it possible for others to do the same?
That's wild, bro. That's wild.
Age group is particularly fascinating to Dement. According to the studies of the Stanford Sleep Lab, most teens around Randy's age sleep between 10 and 11 hours a day.
Yeah.
He volunteers his service, arriving with an electroencephalogram, or EEG, to record Randy's brain activity and eye movement. The boy's parents are more than happy to have more professionals on the scene. While Dement says Randy seems mostly unaffected, Lieutenant Commander Ross records that he's beginning to experience hallucinations. Day 4, Randy mistakes.
Bro, he's beginning to hallucinate. Jesus. And he's only 4 days in, just hitting day 4. My God, can you imagine?
Takes a street sign for another person on the street.
Oh my God.
Convinced, although briefly, that he's a famous football star. Day 5, despite being indoors, a path.
He's out there just talking to a street sign like, bro, I've been up 4 days, dude. I'm doing this experiment. You're not going to believe this. This man's just talking to a bus stop sign. Bro, I believe it. But the hallucinating part, that's wild. You know, I never experienced that, but man.
Suddenly appears in front of him, winding its way through a quiet forest. Randy knows it's a hallucination, but still, he sees it. The hallucinations are not unexpected. Even before Tom Rounds in Honolulu, another DJ pulled a no-sleep stunt. Back in 1959, Peter Tripp of WMGM in New York City attempted a wake-a-thon to benefit the March of Dimes. He broadcast from a glass booth in Times Square, with occasional breaks to use the bathroom or change his clothes. As the days wore on, he began to hallucinate. After 120 hours or 5 days, he saw flames shooting out of the drawer in his hotel room. A scientist became an undertaker, taking him away to die. The face of a clock became the face of a friend the longer he stared.
Well, that's great. Like, the fire shooting out of the drawer, then the scientist is literally taking his body to the, that's dark, man. Those are some creepy hallucinations.
At it. Then he began to believe
Like your mind just starts playing games with you. Just starts playing tricks on you, like. And it's just so crazy, dude. Just in being in consciousness period, like you don't realize that even some of the hallucinations he had are like he was psychologically things he probably was thinking of or thought of, but didn't even realize he was thinking that. And therefore his mind, you know, it made that appear. That's why he manifested it really subconsciously.
he was the friend and that he wasn't really Peter
Wild.
Tripp. That the sleep scientists around him
The human brain, man, the human brain.
were plotting against him. In all, he lasted 8 days, 8 hours, 200 hours in all. Some still maintain that the experiment did permanent harm to him psychologically. Fortunately, Randy's hallucinations are not that violent. And unlike Peter Tripp, no drugs are being used to keep him going. He has other ways of staying awake.
That's what I'm saying.
While
How?
it's dangerous to sit down, he enjoys driving around in the convertible Dement brought with him.
Why is it dangerous to sit down? Because you probably fall asleep. So not only do you got to stay awake, you have to remain active. You have to be on your feet. Good Lord. I mean,
Dement also observes that the growing media coverage is becoming a circus, with newspaper, radio, and television all camping out in Randy's neighborhood. The attention and sudden celebrity is enough to keep anyone awake, much less a 17-year-old at the height of his confidence. And of course, there's always basketball. All else is beginning to suffer. His speech slows and slurs. He has trouble remembering the names of common objects. He stops speaking in the middle of sentences and forgets he was talking at all. The group conducts tests on his senses of taste, smell, and hearing, and are surprised to see that not all of them have become dulled, but rather more sensitive. Randy begins to fight on some of the small tests, especially saying he can't stand it. But his basketball game does not suffer. He even continues to win when playing against others. Dement's mentor, Nathaniel Kleitman, noticed similar behavior in his early experiments in 1922. Kleitman noticed that subjects had to be in constant activity to fight off drowsiness, and not just any repetitive activity, but something truly dynamic like basketball or bowling, activities where you're constantly changing speed and approach, where there's stimuli all around you. After all, he found that subjects would start to fall asleep as soon as they closed their eyes, even while in the middle of walking. As his student Dement would later put it, almost continuous muscular activity is necessary to forestall overwhelming sleeplessness.
yeah, it's almost like you just blink. You literally go to blink, and then you just you fall asleep. Like you're there, you're talking, you're slurring your speech, and then you're like, yeah, man, and you just it's out. It's done. It becomes a point where you can no longer control it.
Kleitman also found that it got worse for his subjects between 3 a.m. and 6 a.m. Dement finds a similar challenge. While during the day, Randy can be photographed, give interviews, go bowling with his friends, generally act like a teenager without any issues, at night all that changes. For one thing, there's nothing open, at least no establishment that will let a trio of high schoolers in. For another, well, remember Randy is now going on 9 days, with over 200 hours without sleep. That broke Peter Tripp, but Randy's not even hitting Tom Rounds' world record yet. As Dement later writes, at night we were driven to increasingly heroic measures to resist sleeplessness. By day 10, Randy is experiencing paranoid episodes. During a radio interview, he
Oh, don't forget, gifts for the kids.
Paranoid episodes, bro. He's got paranoia.
suspects the host is mocking him, purposefully trying to make him appear foolish. But while he might
Well, the problem with that is you're not all there. Now you're not thinking clearly, you're not thinking straight, but also if he is mocking you, it's not the real you. It's because you have such a lack of sleep that your natural functions are not even working properly. Like you said, you start slowing your words down, slurring your speech, like when you had too much to drink. It's wild, bro.
might not be a fool, he is getting vaguer. When Dement speaks with Randy, he records that while there are some minor lapses, Randy is altogether pretty unaffected. He still knows he's Randy Gardner, but when Lieutenant Commander Ross records his observations, He notes that Randy is having trouble remembering some details of the past 10 days, and in order to get in any response, he often has to be prompted. Day 11, the home stretch. Lieutenant Commander Ross records that Randy is expressionless. They conduct a test, starting from the number 1.
Bro, what'd you do to my man Randy? No, y'all took it too far. He's expressionless now. He's just like I made him brain dead, man. Took it beyond the breaking point, man.
100, Randy is asked to proceed downward by
Poor
7.
Randy.
100, 93, 86, 79, 72.
Oh, bro, I couldn't even do that now. What the hell?
65, 65, 65. When asked to go past 65, Randy is unable to. In the middle of the test, he's forgotten what they were doing. Later,
oh my God. See, it's not like most of the time, you know, when you're doing it and you're like, you get stuck for a second and then you'll either get it or like it'll get to you, but it's way beyond that, you know. It's like he said, you're doing it 65, 65, and then you just literally forget completely what you were doing in the conversation that you just had with them, what you're doing right now. It's wild, and then it's just you be in such a daze.
So, Dement records a more optimistic interaction. After 3 a.m., Dement and Randy find themselves in a penny arcade. The two compete in about 100 games on a pinball machine, and Randy wins every time. To Dement, this is proof of his lack of physical or psychomotor impairment. As the morning comes, Randy gives a press conference. According to all observers, it is the best he's presented himself. He's articulate, informative, engaging. He's also a world record holder. January 8, 1964, Randy Gardner, 17 years old, has gone without sleep for 11 days. He is whisked away to the San Diego Naval Hospital, where, watched over by more sleep researchers in a lab, he finally gets his first night's sleep in 264 hours and 12 minutes.
Jesus. Whatever. See, this is what I don't want to hear, man. What was that first sleep like? And of course, they had to do some research, and you know, I'm sure someone has gone beyond it at this point. There's just no proof, or they weren't trying to break a record, you know what I mean? Or maybe not. I mean, who knows? Either way, people that have was probably, you know, drug induced or something like that. So maybe then it wouldn't even count. I don't know how that works, but well, especially it wouldn't count if it's a legal substance. But either way, man, Randy, you a wild dude. Shout out.
He's out for 14 hours and 40 minutes before he finally gets up to go to the bathroom.
14 hours and 40 minutes. Straight sleep. Some of the best sleeps he's ever had in his life, bro. 14 hours, 30 minutes, and another 10 minutes. Almost 15 hours, but man, I bet you he was... I mean, sleep's just the cousin to death, so... And it's weird too. It's weird. I don't know. It's weird how it's like consciously you almost, you know, consciousness just shuts off when you go to sleep. And it's almost like, obviously it's not off, but your, you know, lack of being awareness is off. But what am I talking about, bro? Let's keep the video going.
Bathroom. He stays up for 24 hours before going back to bed for another 8 hours,
What?
and then continues his life as normal. The data of his brain activity is processed in Arizona, and there was
He stayed up for another 24 hours once, probably because he slept so good, but and then he slept 8 hours and then just right back. So it only took like one weird sleep, you know, pattern and you know, another 24 hours staying up before he's just back to normal. I mean, that's what I'm saying, man. The human body, the brain, everything it's amazing. It's a miracle. It's just how fast that you can rejuvenate as well. I mean, in 48 hours, it's like it never happened.
results are pretty interesting. While Randy technically stayed awake, his brain was catching catnaps. Parts of his brain would actually fall asleep, while other parts remained active. This may explain the hallucinations both he and Peter Tripp experienced. They were actually dreaming while still awake. A curious preservation tactic, but one that seems to...
So you weren't actually hallucinating. You were dreaming while you were awake. So you're awake, your eyes are open, you can see, but you're dreaming. So you see what you're dreaming, but you see what you're seeing. You know what I mean? And that's like yeah, like you said, you know, a self, what do you say? It's like it's a self-help mechanism, basically, like the brain reserving itself. Also, at a certain point too, it's like you almost feel like you're going crazy, man. After a certain amount of, you know, sleep deprivation.
Prove that the brain does need to rest. Randy set out to prove the human body doesn't need sleep. Instead, he learned the body finds a way, sometimes nightmarishly so. So the boys of Point Loma High School take first place in the 10th annual Greater San Diego Science Fair. Randy even appears on television, on an episode of What's My Line. Well into his 60s, he continues to be contacted by scientists and researchers from around the world. But there's also a not-so-fun side effect. Randy suffers from an almost debilitating insomnia, and he fully blames his record-breaking stunt. He suffers for almost a decade before finally finding a routine that works for him, and now the boy who didn't sleep is the man who needs his 8 hours. In the meantime, many others have worked to dethrone Randy. A month after the experiment, Toimi Soini of Finland reported staying up 276 hours. The Guinness Book of World Records, though, recognizes Maureen Weston of Peterborough, Cambridgeshire, United Kingdom, who in 1977 went without sleep while participating in a rocking chair marathon for 449 hours. That's 18 days and 17 hours. But don't even try to beat that. The Guinness Book of World Records no longer recognizes the category of sleep deprivation, deeming it too dangerous.
Exactly, bro. That's what I was trying to say to begin with. It's not worth doing that to yourself, man.
As Dement wrote in his...
Now that come on, man. 18 days. Come on, man. Come on, man.
17 hours.
18 days, 17 hours, almost 19. Come on, man. More than half of a month. I don't know if I could believe that, bro.
The Guinness Book of World Records, though, recognizes Maureen Weston of Peterborough, Cambridgeshire, United Kingdom, who in 1977 went without sleep while participating in a rocking chair marathon for 449 hours.
How?
That's 18 days and 17 hours. But don't even try to beat that. The
I'd
Guinness
be
Book
dead,
of World
bro.
Records no longer recognizes the category
I'd be
of sleep
dead.
deprivation,
I'd be
deeming it
dead
too
after
dangerous. As Dement wrote in his 1972 book, Some Must Watch While Some Must Sleep, it is impossible to, quote, locate a person who never sleeps and yet is healthy and alert at all times. Although a number of claims have been made, they've been quickly faded under the cold glare of round-the-clock scientific observation. Now, go ahead and watch everything you know about sleep and...
Anyway, man. Appreciate y'all watching it with me, man. Stay tuned for the next one. You know, it's not gonna be it's just gonna be random different things, man. Little cool things we're gonna be reacting to. So you guys have any suggestions, man, let me know in the comment section below. Don't forget, you know, if you could hit that like button, man, hit that subscribe button. NoLimitReacts, man. I'm gone.